It is late March 2026. A 10-day countdown is ticking. The U.S. president has issued a strict ultimatum: reach a regional settlement in the Middle East or face a complete collapse of the global economy. This deadline followed a massive preemptive military strike. Hours earlier, U.S. and Israeli forces targeted high-value assets deep inside Iranian territory. These strikes hit the heavy water and industrial complexes in Iraq and Khuzestan. The goal was to permanently break the back of Iran's industrial infrastructure. The operation also targeted critical nuclear sites, an attempt to eliminate the state's ultimate deterrent before it could be used. While Washington expected a swift surrender, the attack backfired. These targeted strikes opened the path to a devastating multi-front regional war. Iran immediately pivoted to an asymmetrical response. They abandoned standard military posturing to mobilize 1 million Revolutionary Guard and Besiege fighters. Their command issued a clear warning: every American or Israeli heavy industrial facility in the Gulf was now a legitimate target for destruction. The first kinetic retaliation followed shortly after. Iranian forces opened fire on U.S. troop concentrations near the Kuwaiti island of Bubiyan. The strategy of the Eastern Front has become clear. They are transforming the entire geography of the region into a graveyard for any potential U.S. ground invasion. After holding their fire for 28 days, Yemen's Houthis entered the conflict, opening a massive southern flank. These Yemeni ballistic missile strikes on Eilat and Dimona were not intended for simple destruction. They served a larger tactical purpose. They were a deliberate strategic distraction. The pressure from the south forced the Israeli military to react. They began a frantic redeployment of their Patriot and THAAD interceptor systems away from the center of the country to cover the southern border. This created a fatal flaw. Shifting the shield south left central Israel entirely exposed. Iran immediately exploited this blind spot, launching a fourth wave of heavy cluster munitions that threaded the newly exposed gap and struck the center. The strikes paralyzed Tel Aviv. Millions fled into shelters, and the normally bustling capital became a ghost town in the middle of the day. Simultaneously, the northern front collapsed. Hezbollah launched over 600 projectiles in hours, trapping Israeli armor in the valleys of southern Lebanon. External military pressure was matched by internal political decay. Leaked audio of racist remarks from the prime minister's inner circle fractured the government and sparked domestic chaos. The final blow to the state's legitimacy came from the International Criminal Court. It issued formal arrest warrants for the leadership, isolating them globally. Technical military superiority ultimately failed. The defense grid was geographically overloaded, while the political leadership directing it imploded. By this point, Israel had lost its military autonomy. The airspace was so compromised that the U.S. military took direct control over all fighter launches. Washington remains hesitant to strike Iran's energy sector directly. They fear a massive, coordinated retaliation against the global economy. The geographic trap is set. The regional alliance now physically controls the two most critical maritime corridors, the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. This gives them a global veto. Closing both straits would choke off the energy supply and send oil prices to levels that would break the modern world economy. The final days of the ultimatum have revealed a new reality. Victory no longer requires defeating an army on a battlefield. It requires control over the physical choke points of the global economy.